talk about Iran.
What do you have?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to figure out whose war this is.
I don't know. You're going to have to lead this one. I don't know too much about Iran.
Well, I mean, Iran itself, it's an interesting history.
Mm-hmm.
We tie in with it a little bit too.
What do you mean? We as Americans?
We, as in the six,
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
and Americans. Obviously, we tie in recent history.
Yeah.
But six tie in it with old history. Talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
Iran's an interesting place, man. It has a really rich history.
Mm-hmm.
You can't look at Iran just from the lens of today's people or today's government. I think you have to look at it from, if you care about history,
Mm-hmm.
you have to look at it from ancient times. And then also you got to look at it from, just overall historical point of view. Back when the Persians were there, it was a powerhouse back then. And it's a civilization that's still been around it's forever. It's one of the oldest continuing civilization. It's like the same bloodline. It hasn't mixed much, which is interesting.
Goes down back to the Persians, right?
Even before that.
Oh, really?
It's like 8,000 years almost.
Who was before that?
It was I forgot, but basically they had a religion, Zoroastrianism or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an old school religion, and the Persian, the Persian rulers, they practice that religion, and I don't know if you've seen pictures of it. It's still preserved in Iran, but like there's pictures of like an eagle or some sort of a bird with its wings open all the way.
Now, when the Spartans were fighting the Persians, what
Yeah.
religion did they have back then?
That
was
religion.
it?
Yeah, that was their religion.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't because Islam came later on. Islam came, I think, in Iran probably 700, 800.
What do you call their leaders? The Persian leaders. That was the name for it. Because it wasn't a king. It was something else.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the famous king that fought the Spartans was Xerxes.
Yeah, he's the one that had like the nose piercing with a.
I think that was.
Was that just a Hollywood thing?
I think that was a Hollywood thing.
No, you never know.
Apparently, he was 8 feet tall.
Hey, bullshit. 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
Should have been in the NBA with 8 feet tall.
Yeah. And when he defeated the Spartans in the Battle of Thermopylae,
Mm-hmm.
he went on to conquering some of Greece, large chunks of Greece, and then his successors, they ended up losing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But moving forward, Iran was, as the Islamic wave kind of took over that part of the world,
Mm-hmm.
I think Iran became Islamic, but it became Shia, which, there's two major divisions.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's several, but there's two major ones, Shias and Sunnis.
Mm-hmm.
And Shias are the minority, and the Sunnis, they make up about 80%, maybe more, of the population. And that's what the friction between Iran and the other countries are, because Iran is majority Shia,
Mm-hmm.
and like countries like Saudi Arabia are Sunni, and they've always had a friction.
You said Sunni was a majority and Shia is a minority?
In the Muslim world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting, man. The history is interesting. The people are interesting. What's happening? The recent history with the United States is very interesting too.
When did we get involved in the whole conflict with Iran?
I think we were messing with Iran like in the 50s. The CIA was
Mm-hmm.
trying to build relationships with there was a Shah who was more of a left type of a ruler. He wasn't really religious
Mm-hmm.
per se, and he had to really try to build relationships with the Western world, and he tried to build relationships with America, Europe in general, and the CIA was trying to connect with them more, and the United States was trying to connect with them more. Apparently, at the time in the 70s, they were the fifth powerful most nation under the Shah. I think his name was Reza
Mhm.
Mohammed, and then his his father was the guy who took over that place in 1925,
Yeah.
that region.
Now you mentioned the 50s. That was about the Cold War era.
Yeah,
Do
Cold
you
War.
think it has anything to do with that?
100%. It's about influence. You know, you know how the Cold War was going between the U.S.
Yeah.
and America.
The
And the
Soviet
Soviet
Union.
Union, and it was always proxy wars
Yeah.
essentially. So
Well, it almost escalated to a full-blown war during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
in the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. So this was another particular, just like Vietnam. Vietnam was essentially the North Vietnamese being pumped with weapons and
Mm-hmm.
resources by the Soviets to counter the U.S., which the U.S. got their revenge in Afghanistan
Yeah.
from the Soviets. There's a book it's one of my favorite books. It's called Afghanistan: The Bear Trap.
Mm.
It's about a ISI agent who works for Pakistan and how he gets weapons and he gets the resources from the U.S. to train the Mujahideen to fight the Soviets, which they make it really hard. Essentially, that was their Vietnam, America's answer for Vietnam for the Soviets. Going back, the point is like there was always proxy wars going on, and they were always trying to push. Both sides were trying to push
Mm-hmm.
their agenda and their influences. So Iran, they were trying to get close to Iran as much as possible.
At what point did we shift our idea or our perspective on Iran? It sounds like you're saying that we were trying to get close to Iran, but now we're against Iran. So at what point in time that shift happened?
Yeah, so 1979,
Mm.
I think, yeah, so 1979, there was a revolution. So it went from the Shah, who was more kind of liberal,
Mm-hmm.
connected with the West. It's very interesting if you look at pictures of some of these places like Iran in the 60s and
Mm-hmm.
70s, you don't see the Islamic, you don't see that lens. You see people wearing, Western clothing. You know, um, Even like if you look at the Shah, he was always in a suit and tie
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, and then in '79 there was a revolution, and the revolution happened because there was a religious side that
Mm-hmm.
was growing over the years, and the leader was he became to be known as Ayatollah Khomeini, and his son was killed a few years ago, prior to '79,
Yeah.
and so he was you know kind of angry about that, and then obviously he was trying to make it more religious and say, hey, we don't need to connect with the West. Again, the typical kind of left versus right
Yeah.
type of mentality, right? The right was more religious and says, hey, look, these guys they're undermining religious authorities, they're
Mm-hmm.
undermining, Islam, and then they're getting too westernized. This needs to end.
Yeah.
And then obviously there were some incidents like the killing of his son, and that led to eventually, and he was jailed before too, prior years ago. So his popularity was growing over time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the time came, the revolution happened, and in all of this, while this was happening, they decide, people over there, while the revolution was happening, they decide to take over a U.S. embassy
Mm.
and
I think I
take.
heard about that.
Yeah, they
Not
grab hostages.
I
I
read
think,
about it, not heard about
yeah. They grabbed 66 hostages. Eventually, it came and went down to 52,
it. Mm-hmm.
and then a lot of those hostages were held from 1979 till 1981, nearly a year and a half.
Okay. So it sounds like
Which
in the 70s, kind of
late 70s,
yeah,
early
it's
80s.
when the relationship shifted.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
so also it was because these hostages were, there were U.S. Marines, there were Air Force pilots, and all sorts of people, from civilian to government workers.
Yeah.
So they were like legit Americans,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole thing left a kind of a I think it was Jimmy Carter at the time was
Hmm.
president. That was one of the major reasons why he didn't win the election, because the whole negotiation aspect of it, people weren't, they were very disappointed with it, the American people.
Hmm.
And then right away we put sanctions on Iran. And then the Soviets obviously took advantage of that, because now you have an it's interesting, Soviets for most part they were, communist,
Hmm.
and they didn't really respect religion as much. But when it came to fighting the Americans, that all went out the door, you know. You
Hmm.
know how the old saying goes, um, enemy of your enemy is your friend.
Yeah, yeah.
So same scenario here. Then they took advantage of that. And they started helping Iran, the new regime,
Hmm.
as you can say. And then ever since we've had issues with Iran, and then Iran's been trying to develop nuclear weapons for its own protection with the help of the Soviets, now the Russians,
Hmm.
and now they have trade oil. I think it's the third highest oil reserves, after the Saudis and Venezuela, and now they are trying to, you know, connect with
Hmm.
China, and that's what China's trying to connect with them.
Well, China's trying to connect with anyone. So right now we're trying to connect with Canada.
Yeah,
Interesting. That's very interesting. I
yeah,
did not know that about Iran. I never really dwelled into that particular part of history.
yeah.
For me, it's always been like the way I've always seen the conflict in Iran, at least in modern ways, is we're almost kind of just involved with it because of Israel, is the issues with Iran and vice versa. You
Right.
know, but
Um, yeah. The actually, speaking of Israel,
hmm,
I think the Iran and Israel thing came in, um, after '79 as
yeah,
well, because the right wing, um, uh, uh, power that came in, the
hmm,
Ayatollah, he came into power, and they didn't like the whole idea of Israel being there, in the Islamic part of the world.
like Israel being its own independent
Right,
thing.
right,
Okay.
right. And so then it started its own. Again, interesting. The Soviets and the U.S. had its proxies, and then these guys started their own mini proxies, right? So then they started, attacking any supporters of the
Hmm.
West, like Saudi Arabia was. They have
Yeah.
good relationships with America, and they started creating and or not even creating, helping out
Hmm.
other, organizations, like Hezbollah is one of them,
Yeah.
Hamas,
Hmm.
the Houthis in Yemen recently. That was another group of where they utilize them. They give them resources to fight Israel or any of its
Mm.
enemies. And Hezbollah is an interesting one. They
Hezbollah is the ones that pretty much went and did that massacre killing in Israel, right?
no, that was Hamas.
Oh, that was Hamas. Okay.
Yeah, Hamas. Hezbollah is an organization out of in Lebanon,
Mm.
which borders the north of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and they run a parallel government with the Lebanese government, and
Gotcha.
they have heavy influences in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
But Iran funds them, and they're also a Shia group, and so they have been fighting Israel, like, attacks here and
Mm-hmm.
there, mostly individual, terrorist attacks, or sometimes they launch across the border. They launch like small missiles and things
Mm.
like that. But after this attack that Hamas did, what was that now 2-3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
which led to this whole Palestinian thing like escalating. Um, Israel's been really going after everyone. It's crazy the capabilities that they have. They have killed like all the senior leadership of Hamas,
Mm-hmm.
and to include people that were like hiding in Qatar, who were hiding in Iran, to include senior leadership. They're doing drone attacks everywhere. To include senior leadership of Hezbollah, guys that like you'd be reading about 15, 20, 25 years ago who were popular. They're all gone these past 3 years. And even certain senior leadership, military leadership of Iran which that was a big deal this past summer. Um, that that's why
Hmm.
like I was like, are we gonna head towards World War III? What's gonna happen? Uh, this past summer was crazy what Israel was doing, and the past 2-3 years in general.
There's a lot of controversy around what Israel is doing too. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that goes back to the question, right?
Yeah.
Whose war is this? Like, it's kind of hard to say. Is it ours? Is it theirs?
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to answer, and
I think it's a very complicated topic.
very
You know,
complicated, man.
people. I don't think people realize that it's not just black and white.
Yeah,
You know, when it comes to the Israel and the American relationship.
yeah,
You know, and I don't know. It's almost like doesn't matter whose war it is because at the end of the day we're gonna be involved in it no matter what,
right.
right? So it seems like at this point it's technically our war, you know, and Israel happens to kind of be like our little sibling, you
Yeah.
know, and we're backing it up, wrong or right, you know.
Well, that's the question. Should we? Right? That's the
Yeah.
question. That's a hard question to answer. And should we get into stuff that we don't need to get into?
Mm.
Right? And Iran is definitely one of those things, right? Do we need to get involved in Iran? The airstrikes that we did with the B2s,
Yeah. The
that is,
bunker busters,
yeah,
right?
bunker
Yeah.
busters. Yeah, that was justifiable to a certain extent because it's, we're not really putting any boots on the ground,
Yeah.
right? And we can't let, per se, the enemies that don't have weapons
Hmm.
right now, nuclear weapons, we can't let them have nuclear weapons,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, nukes fall in the wrong hands. It's bad for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, oh, just as the side thing, I was when we were talking about Hezbollah.
Hmm.
Did you ever hear about the pager and walkie-talkie attack
Yeah, it's
that
something
Israel?
that Israeli did. They tapped into their phones or something like that, where they with something with phones, right?
Yeah, so it was pagers and walkie-talkies. This happened in 2014. I don't remember the full details of it, but like it's crazy how like Mossad, these guys operate.
These guys are at a different level, man.
Yeah, different level. Absolutely.
I think they work hand in hand with the CIA.
Of
From what I was
course.
reading,
Of
we
course.
get a lot of our intel from Mossad too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
in that region.
I think
Yeah.
that's another big thing is that, um, you know, people don't realize that we get a lot of. It's not like we're just donating money to Israel. We
Yeah.
gotta get it. We get a lot of intelligence back too. The United States does.
Yeah, there's people that argue that they give us technology, and then the counter argument is like, hey, if we don't give them the money, we could build our own technology. We don't need them.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. So again, two sides to a story,
Yeah.
or two sides to a coin, I guess
When
you could
did
say.
we really start funding or supporting Israel? What point? What year?
I, I remember in the '60s that Kennedy, these guys were trying to get nuclear weapons,
Mm-hmm.
and Kennedy had essentially kind of stopped or questioned them,
Okay.
and was in the process of basically launching an investigation and things like that. But Kennedy was killed,
Mm-hmm.
and after that, w- you know, I want to say somewhere in the '60s, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in the '60s. But I don't know.
You think
I
if
don't.
Kennedy would have lived, that Israel would have not had nukes, or do you think they eventually would have gained nuclear power?
I, with Israel's influence
Mm-hmm.
in American politics
Yeah.
and getting involved in American politics, I don't know exactly when that happened,
Yeah.
when that
Yeah.
started happening. I think that was probably in the '60s as well. I think that was gonna happen.
What was the
Ki-
whole thing going on about, you know, a lot of I was looking at news outlets and they were saying that Israel was almost committing genocide against the Palestinian people. What was that all about? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I mean that in itself is it's a controversial topic, right? It's
Okay.
it's one of those topics that require you need to understand both sides,
Hmm.
right? And you need to understand the history behind it. This again, why like we always talk, this stuff doesn't just happen, or it didn't happen 10 years ago or 20 years ago. There's a rich history behind it,
Was
right?
it really happening or was it just kind of like mass propaganda?
The genocide.
Yeah.
I think the genocide. I think there's for sure Israel is making mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's making some major mistakes. You know,
Because
are,
even the
are
European Union were against it at some point.
right,
Yeah.
right. But that doesn't mean that on the other flip side that Iran with its proxies
Mm-hmm.
and Hamas, those guys haven't killed innocent people either.
Well, what was you said? Hamas are the ones that went into Israel and killed all those people at a festival, right?
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah,
genocide right there.
right.
You know,
Well,
and
I
because
think it's
there is some,
1,200, and then the 1,200 people, and genocide is a interesting term, right? It's
hmm
you can't. It's it's hard way to explain what
yeah,
genocide really is, right? Because like sometimes people describe it as a riot, sometimes
mm,
people describe it as a genocide, but there needs to be like clear evidence that here, like, hey, their whole purpose is to eliminate a certain group of people.
yeah,
Was that their purpose, Hamas, or was it to spark something to bring some sort of a change? Some sort of a revolution in their eyes. But at the end of the day, if you're killing innocent people, man,
that's what
especially
yeah.
kids,
Anytime you're killing innocent people, that's a genocide in my eyes.
yeah, that's wrong.
Because I look at like you have terrorism, right? But terrorism, you're pretty much killing whoever is at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Hmm.
But then genocide is it's a targeted attack.
Yeah,
So what Hamas did, it almost seems like they didn't go in to just kill anyone. They went in specifically targeting Israelis.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
But then you have 9/11, a terrorist attack. They didn't care if it was a Chinese guy or a Russian guy or an American guy on that plane. They just took the plane and hit the tower with it.
that's
That's a
true.
terrorist attack. Big difference, right?
Now the question is it a terrorist attack if governments do it, or if it's a terrorist attack if people do it, right?
Yeah. Well, it's both.
Right, or is it
The
both?
governments are known to have caused terrorist attacks like that too.
Yeah,
And that's another big controversy right there. Who did 9/11?
yeah,
You have a bunch of conspiracy theorists thinking that it was an inside government job, and I mean, there's no evidence of that.
yeah.
But even what's that guy's name? Tucker. What's his last name?
Carlson.
Yeah, even he questioned
Yeah,
9/11,
yeah,
and he's a pretty credible individual. He's a credible journalist,
yeah. He's
and
been in for a while.
and the fact that he's questioning 9/11, I'm sure there is more to what we were told
Yeah,
in that particular topic.
yeah. Again, complex issues, man.
Yeah.
You can't. I like how like some people just come on and they can't even point out Israel or Palestine on the map.
Yeah.
Like if I show them a globe, I'm like, here, show me where it is. Right? They can't find it.
It's easy to
And
come out and shout, when you
yeah,
see like you're going through Instagram and you're like, "Oh, we did 9/11, it was a CIA job," scrolling, but it's a complex topic,
right, right,
and people like to make almost like make a conclusion without evidence,
right.
and it's like the Kennedy thing too,
Yeah,
right? For as long as I've been alive, or at least memories that I can recall, is that there's been people saying that the CIA killed Kennedy. And then there's a bunch of videos on YouTube where people are pointing out, look, his bodyguard, his CIA, his Secret Service turned around and pulled the trigger.
yeah,
But then you really got to look into the deeper topic.
yeah.
There's no evidence. They found the shooter. Stuff like that.
There's a Seinfeld episode on that,
Really,
on the Kennedy killing.
really.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
they debunk it or no?
No, man, it's pretty funny. It's you got to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like it's easy to fall into this Instagram post. But you really got to look into it.
You have to.
And
Yeah, you got to know that going back, man, history, chronicles, right?
yeah, yeah.
You got to know.
And some things you'll never really figure it out. Some things I believe in, like mysteries. It just happens, and there's so many different stories that you can pinpoint to it, but you just can't get the right one.
Yep.
And it just happens to be that way. Like with the Secret Service guy. Just because he turns around doesn't mean he pulled a gun and shot Kennedy.
Right.
But the video looks like he did.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all these little things you fall for, but I'm sure there's a lot more to it
Yeah.
than that.
I didn't finish my pager thing.
Oh yeah, the phone thing.
Yeah.
The walkie-talkies.
Yeah. So these guys, again, it's been 2 years or a year and a half since I read the details. These guys, somehow they got Hezbollah, the guys to the north.
Okay, yeah,
the
yeah, I heard
proxy.
about that. That's how they got him, right? With
Yeah,
the
they got them to they convinced them that, hey, the Mossad is like, and the Israelis are tapping your phones,
mhm.
and that you guys should get on walkie talkies and pagers. And somehow they got some lady and some people to convince them. And then after they convinced them, then they told them, hey, like, we got a company,
Mhm.
a very secure company that could sell you these things. Right?
Fucking idiots. Fell for it.
And then they bought these for all, like, for upper commanders
Yeah.
and like mid-grade commanders. They got off, they were messaging each other, sorry, not messaging, talking to each other, communicating with pagers and walkie-talkies. And then they got them to got them at before they gave it to them, Mossad in their laboratory, they put bombs in there.
That's wild.
And then they gave it to them. This
That's
feels
some
like a movie.
genius stuff, though, if you think about it.
And then they did the perfect timing, and nearly 1,500. First day, the pagers went off. I think the next day or two, the walkie-talkies went off. And these guys, their arms blew off, their legs blew off, and they lost a whole like command staff. Hezbollah did.
That's insane.
That is absolutely insane, and the amount of work and dedication these guys have. You know, hate them or like them,
I mean, yeah,
you have to like praise their capabilities and what these guys could do.
it's genius. It's almost like psyops in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's 100% psyops.
yeah, 100%. Like there should be like,
People
you know,
don't give value to psychological warfare.
no,
They really don't. I think that, to me, that's always been the most fascinated aspect of warfare.
yeah,
And I think if you read the book by Sun Tzu, right, what is it, The Art of War,
yep,
I think that's all psyop,
Mhm.
really what it is. And it's amazing to me.
yeah,
What they did, it's genius.
right.
But you got to be an idiot to fall for that shit too, though.
Yeah, but you got to realize it's the convincing too. Like these people aren't dumb either, They're in an acting war. They understand what's going
Yeah.
on, but like, but by the time some of them figured it out. By the time they figured it out, these guys detonated it. That's how like they were watching this entire thing. What's
Yeah.
going on?
So someone from the inside gave it info.
Like what info?
Like, who convinced them?
Oh, basically someone working for Mossad that convinced them.
Oh, okay. So
They-
it was like a deep agent, like
Yeah,
that kind of infiltrated the organization, pretending to be one of them.
right,
Damn, that's the shit you see in movies.
right, exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Again, the details. I got to go back to reading these details, but that's the basics of it, of
Yeah.
what was going on.
Is that guy still alive?
I think it was a lady, man.
Is she still alive?
Yeah, I believe
Okay.
so. Yeah. Well, she's gonna be under protection now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing she got out of there.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, the one person they couldn't get was Fidel Castro.
Yeah. That guy survived. How many assassination attempts? I don't even know. They even tried to blow up his cigars.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, and then they sent so many like women, that would try to go kill him.
Yeah, and he had like romantic relationships with them.
Yeah. They say he was possibly involved in Kennedy's killing.
Yeah, I thought they debunked that.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like, even at that time, the Soviet Union leader his name was Nikita Khrushchev,
Yep.
and
In the 80s.
yeah, and even he said that there was a famous comment he made when Kennedy got killed.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was before the 80s. He was during Kennedy's times. Maybe he led all the way into the 80s. I'm not sure what year he finished, but he made a comment that when Kennedy got killed, he's like, "There goes peace."
I was thinking Gorbachev.
Yeah, he's the one
yeah.
that essentially betrayed the Soviet Union and moved to the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yep.
then I think after him,
Florida, I think he moved to.
yeah, he died recently. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how they got him though.
All old people are tired in Florida, man.
Yeah, leaders too.
Yeah.
There was a criminal from Moldova that went to Florida. His
Really?
name was Plahotniuk.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ended up getting his ass too.
Okay.
But he was like involved in like human trafficking in Moldova. He was in politics for a little bit. Then
Yeah.
he stole the national budget from Moldova, which is like $1 billion. And he really screwed up in Moldova. And then he fled to Florida for a while. And then he, I don't know, I think he went to like Greece, or they eventually got him. I think he's in custody now.
Yeah.
Interpol got him, or someone got him. But he's like wanted in a lot of places. I think he's wanted in Russia too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look into it. Where he funded a lot of trucking companies in the US.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of the Eastern European.
Yep.
Okay.
It was like a big money laundry movement.
Okay.
Because you see those guys that came from Moldova here, and then like in 5 years, they're like worth $100 million and driving, Ferraris and Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
So
I ran into a few.
yeah, that's not everyone, but very select group of people that are probably involved into getting funded by him.
So if I see you in a Ferrari, I should.
He's long gone, man.
Well, I'm sure he has replacements.
Probably. No, I don't think so. They got him.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't steal from people. He stole. It's not like he stole from a major corporation where he committed some type of, fraud, that didn't affect anyone. It's like stealing from Costco. You steal $1 million from Costco or $1 billion. Costco's gonna be pissed off, but it's not really gonna affect them as much as stealing the entire national budget that was supposed to go to welfare programs, to medical programs, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of messed up, in my opinion.
Going back to Iran.
Man, we always keep getting off topic.
We're good at that, bro.
Yeah, we are.
That's how we learn, and that's how our audience learns.
That's true too.
Random facts. In fact, speaking of a random fact, it's actually related to Iran a little bit, about my own history.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
Well, I mean, that part of the world, it was, Persian's the main language spoken over there. And it's been, even today, the state language is Persian. I think the population is 50 or 60% Persian still to this day. Same bloodline, like I told you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so in the 1700s, mid 1700s, there was an invader from that part of the world. His name was Nader Shah. And Nader Shah he used to fight against the Ottoman Empire. He'd be competitor of them. And sometimes he'd becomes friends with them. Sometimes he'd compete with them. And then he was on a decline, essentially. Yeah. So he needed money. He needed to fund his army, his whole treasury. And so he headed over to India, which a lot of these invaders, that's what they did, because there's a lot of gold and resources in India. And then they would go through the Hindu Kush mountain range, through the Khyber Pass, the one we discussed about. Yeah. And then they would head over and loot, take slaves, women and children, and then go back. So he did that a few times with the help of like local, the Mughals were weak at that time, and they would work with them, and then they would go back. So they had no resistance over there, except the Sikhs. So Sikhs were always outnumbered at that time. They've always been outnumbered. Yeah. And so they used guerrilla tactics. They would attack at midnight, 12 o'clock usually. And they would fight and then attack, free the slaves as much as they can, and then go back into the jungle. And they did that a few times, and then Nader Shah got pissed off because he's paying a lot of money for these campaigns. And then he asked the local Mughal leader, and he says, who are these people? And he's like, sir, they call them Sikhs. And then he's like, where do they live? He goes, they live in the jungle. He's like, what do they eat? They're like, he's like, they eat berries and bark, because they didn't have that many resources. And he's like, where do they sleep? He's like, they sleep on the back of horses, meaning they don't have a place. They are wherever they could be anywhere. And then he says to them, he's like, hey, you guys, you local guys, you better be careful. These are the next rulers of these lands. And nearly 40-some years later, the Sikh Empire was born.
And was that against the Mughals or against the Persians?
The Persians.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Mughals had become weak at that time.
Were they predominantly still Muslim at that time?
Yeah, so both parties were Muslim.
Were they in
Muslim.
conflict or no? Or just the Mughals kind of lost power?
the Mughals lost power,
Okay.
so that's where the power vacuum came, and that's
Yeah.
why these invaders, these Afghan and these Persians, started invading and started
Mhm.
using the resources. The Mughals were so weak at that time. This is in the 1750s,
Okay.
40s and 50s.
Yeah.
They were so weak that there was a power vacuum. But none of these guys really wanted to stay there,
Mhm. Yeah.
because you had to go through it's a totally a different world for them. They didn't want
Yeah.
to stay there. So then slowly, as these invaders were fought off, a lot of them by the Sikhs, then their foothold was made. The Sikh Empire
Mhm.
was made, in
Yeah.
the late 1700s.
You ever heard of a guy named Vlad Tepes? People know him as Dracula in America,
From Romania?
from Romania.
Yeah, he has a castle up in
Yeah.
North Romania.
He was fighting the Muslims too. He was fighting the Ottomans for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. There's arguments if he was Hungarian or if he was Romanian. That's a major topic today. But did I ever tell you the story how he made it all the way to the Sultan's camp?
No.
Dude, this guy is crazy. He went by himself, infiltrated the Sultan's army,
Mm-hmm.
pretended to be one of them,
Mm-hmm.
made his way all the way into the Sultan's camp,
Mm-hmm.
and almost killed the Sultan,
Wow.
and then escaped and came back.
But he didn't kill him?
No, he got caught.
He got caught?
But think about it. He infiltrated the camp. Didn't just infiltrate the camp, assimilated with his soldiers, but made his way all the way into inside of his camp, into inside of his little tent.
Yeah.
Almost killed him, got caught, escaped, and came back.
That's
One person?
That's so interesting, man.
Yeah.
That's interesting. We have a similar story, but it's two people. They dressed up and then they went in and they killed. His name was Masarangad.
Mm-hmm.
They killed him, took his head, then they brought it back on horseback. But that's crazy how you have a very similar story.
It's insane how they even manage, to go that far.
Yeah.
It blows. But once again, sometimes maybe one person, two people is better than an entire army.
Yeah, man. That's how old assassination attempts happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. But very interesting. It's speaking of the Ottomans, we talked about this. You've been to Turkey.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to the the Sultan's palace actually?
Okay. No, yeah, I have not.
So it's when I went there, I felt two things. First of all, I was like, wow, such rich human history, because they preserved everything.
Yeah.
Second thing I felt, to be honest, I felt a little bit of jealousy.
Yeah. Next time you're there, tell them to give back Stefan the Great sword, because they keep it and they don't want to give it back.
Well, I mean, we could have a conversation on museums and things like that, taking stuff, because the British took a lot of stuff, but that's a separate topic. But when you go to the palace, like I said, I felt the jealousy because it's really well preserved. Things are really, and it's very organized. It's beautiful. You see the channel, you know what I mean, from there, on Istanbul, and you see the weaponry over there too, and they probably have a lot of stuff from Romania and that part of the world. I saw the dagger, the guy I was talking about, Nader Shah. He was gifted a dagger by the Sultan.
Okay.
One of the periods that they were peaceful together, I guess. And seeing that, reading those stories, hearing about those stories, from my grandpa and things like that, it was surreal to see that that guy who fucked with us and found out, he touched that dagger. You know what I mean? That was crazy. So
yeah, museums are awesome, especially in that part of the world. We have a lot of cool museums here, though.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to do. We need to go on a museum tour.
We should.
All across the country.
We'll learn.
Yeah.
We'll have more material for the podcast.
I want to learn more about American history.
Yeah.
People
hate on American history. They're like, oh, these guys don't really have a history, this and that. That's bullshit, man.
No, there's a big, rich history.
Yeah,
here.
it's very rich history, man. It's like the development of a nation, of Rome, essentially.
Yeah.
They often say, America is the modern day Rome. And, and you could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
So, but I think this is all I got for today.
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. We'd use all the help that we could get.
Yeah, we had one video that went viral, 124,000 views on Instagram. It was a short, but it went viral.
Love let's
Let's keep it rolling.
beat that record.